You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right. Welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on 94.9 FM and 950 on the AM dial if you're here in Central Florida. Outside of that, we stream, I would say about Wednesday or Thursday of the same week. You'll see, or you'll find us on Spotify, iTunes, and you'll find us also on video on our YouTube page. So jump on over to YouTube, like us, subscribe us, and you too will be able to tune into every show and find Hans' dapper suit of the week. If you're tuning in now on YouTube, you'll hopefully get the zoom in here. So, you'll never find the same suit twice, so make sure you go back and watch every single episode for years to come, and just imagine the wardrobe here in the closet. But no, we have a great show for you guys as always. We are 2 weeks in the legislative session here in the state of Florida, and Hans already has brought a news opinion, I was going to say, to go over, and always some updated information for you guys. And a special guest, Freddy with Almighty Environmental. What's going on, Freddy?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I'm glad you're joining us today. I've known you for a long time, and it's great to have you on the show. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's exciting, man. I knew you back from doing carpet cleaning back 10 years ago,
yes,
man. Just crushing it with the apartment complexes and getting the first dibs at doing the little mold jobs there and stuff.
Yes, sir. Lots changed.
Oh yeah, a lot has changed. I can't wait to hear more about it as well.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And Hans Kennon with, I think I got a new slogan for him, right?
Slogan.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Here we go. Luckily, there's a pen here.
All right. How do I start it? It's like, all right.
A jingle or a slogan?
It's more of a slogan.
Okay.
I figured this out. I'll just go with it. Your only call, Hans Kennon Law. No? Kennon Law?
Yeah.
No, I threw the Hans in there. I didn't mean to. But your only one call to Kennon Law.
Okay.
All right. Just one call, Kennon Law. There it is.
There we go.
Just one call, Kennon Law. I like that. I think we can run with that. I think
Annabelle's choked up by the whole thing.
It was so good.
The room, it was so good.
It was so good.
Her eyes are watering.
Like she's wondering, how did you do that? It's like,
wow.
I don't even know. So, but anyway, so we're working on that. What's going on, Hans?
Cool. Well, I'm writing it down now. Just one call. Just one call. Make it Kennon Law.
Oh, there it is. It's even better. It's like Winn-Dixie up in here when they're just getting better every day. No?
When's the last time I went to Winn-Dixie, Rich?
It's interesting to see how now that we have some information out from the insurance company side of things, with what we've seen in the marketplace, and I mean like on US Today or on Orlando Sentinel and all of these newspapers, I can't even quote, but they're all showing these articles of that finally this information that was requested, I believe, back in November of 2022, after we saw legislation pass in in 2020, rather, that stated all the insurance companies by the next fiscal year must turn in, because everybody was, let me take a step back, the insurance companies said continue to scream poor mouth while they were raising rates dramatically and creating this false crisis, right? So they could set it up. They're great at playing the long game, and they had the right player in with the David Altmaier, the CEO of however you want to call him, of the OIR, the Office of Insurance Regulation. And if you recently saw, he made a debut back to testify there in the state of Florida. So in the Banking and Insurance Committee, and basically of the dumpster fire he started and passed over to the new OIR director. But within that, those fake crisis that we call it, we all knew it. Everybody up there talked about it and knew about it, but it's nothing you could prove, right? Insurance companies are only allowed to make up to 5% profits. So what they were doing with the extreme profits are overpaying their subsidiaries. I mean, and it's so blatant and obvious to us that work within the industry. You hear it, you see it, and you see even the declination rate get skyrocketed up to what Citizens was showing in the paper, a 77% declination rate, denying claims after both Hurricane Milton and Helene
before it.
That's right. They combine these storms and they're saying, wow, that's 77% of all the claims filed that they were denying or paying under deductible. With Snake Farm's second place, 50%, and Allsnake at 47%. So you have the top 3 insurers that have the most policies in the state of Florida showing that, and you scratch your head and you're going, huh. And then you take a look back and you say, okay, well, since 2020, we had this law that says that, okay, because of all this, and well, the boogeyman every year was first back in before 2013, it was sinkholes, and then it was people like Freddy that apparently showed up at 3 o'clock in the morning as a water restoration technician and saying, oh, you must sign this contract in exchange for this AOB to find themselves, and then months later, part of a suit that they didn't know that they were involved in or something like that of that noise. That's what was said to the legislators who made them think that the AOB was the reason why. And then they started turning towards you then, Hans, and saying, oh, there's roofers and the attorneys, they're the ones that are doing it now.
Public adjusters, don't leave the public adjusters out.
That's right. Oh, no,
they're part of the problem.
They're the locusts that show up after a storm to help people. That was quoted by the CFO, right, who is a governing body of all the public adjusters who said that, by the way.
Who's now in Congress.
Right, and that's scary.
No, it is. It's scary.
Right? His background was, my family owns a fish restaurant in Panama City. It's like, really? Like that's how we got our CFO. It's just like and now he's in Congress. So
yes.
Yeah, anyways, there's so much more to be said about that. But anyways, that's who we had running our Office of Insurance Regulation. By the way, you can look it up online, but I'll save you the trouble. During all this height of this fake crisis, the who ran for office again was our CFO. Right, and out of the $3.5 million that he raised, minus the $20,000 that I gave him, anyway. But of that $3.5 million that he raised, guess who that came from?
Who?
The insurance companies.
No,
I'm telling you that minus the $20,000, the rest of that $3.5 million he raised was all from insurance companies.
Oh, stop pulling my leg. Stop pulling my leg.
I'm telling you. So it's like, So you look back and you think, okay, his only supporters are the insurance companies, right? I mean, besides my dumb association, I guess at that point, well, we had him even at certain of our fundraisers where he came to speak and was like, oh, I'm going to help all these restoration contractors and I'm going to talk with the roofers and I'm going to do all this stuff, knowing that was not the case. Knowing that he can then look us straight in the eye and then do the exact opposite. And that's what a good politician is, apparently.
And not only not do it, but actually talk bad about everybody.
Right, in front of their face. And so we haven't had the best luck with our leadership. Right, and then I voted for the guy twice, our governor. I'll call him Dick Santis because he did a dick move, but also he's been a dictator the past couple of years in allowing the insurance companies. Not only did they bribe him, they paid him $100 million when they're in the middle of a crisis. I wonder how they did that, but they paid him $100 million to run for president. In exchange, the governor did whatever they wanted to do, which was everything they've been building up for the past 10 years. So they got everything and the kitchen sink. They got rid of all the attorney's fees. And that was in December 16, 2022 is when he signed the bill. And he made sure the legislation piece said it becomes law upon me signing it. So meaning that's as soon as they can do it, the day he signed it, he couldn't sign it fast enough. There's 3 major bills that shaped our landscape here in the state of Florida doing insurance-related work for us contractors and consumers alike. No longer is the consumer protected. No longer can you go after an insurance company for bad faith unless you want to wait it out another 10 years.
Yep.
And so when they take away the fee provision, which allows somebody that's suing for the exact amount that they need to build their roof or build their walls to be back whole again, and now after 100 plus years of case law, now they have to now pay your fee, Hans. They have to pay guys like me as an expert in the industry.
Yep.
They have to now start paying their own bills, and then it becomes not worth it to most people.
I turned down a guy today. I said, sir, unfortunately, I can't help you. By the time this process is over, by the time we just pay for depositions, court filing fees, experts, all these other things, I said, there won't be any money left for anybody other than people I've already paid. I said, and that's no good for you. Honestly, it's no good for me either at this point. Right. The legislation simply is not structured to help folks. Now, if you have a big enough claim, you can give it a shot. But the problem is on a large claim, if you have a $100,000 claim and I take 50 of it, not for me, but to pay the engineer, to pay everybody who has to come out, give deposition tests, all these people, then the guy's still only getting half a loaf. and half a loaf at $100,000 is still a lot of money. But just like for folks who have a $10,000 claim who come to me, I can't even get that started because simply the recovery at the end is not going to be enough, no matter what, to do anything but pay the experts, pay filing fees, pay the court reporters, and pay the court.
Right. And that's why I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're 2 weeks in to our Florida legislative session, and already, because of all of that back end that I was just telling you, we come to a point now to where all of this fake crisis stuff started to finally come out. The law that I was talking about in 2020 said that all insurance companies had to give all of their expenses, because if we were the problem, if all these external expenses were the problem, well, show us. Right, so that everybody had 1 year to turn in all of their expenses, broken down. How much did you pay defense? How much did you pay plaintiff? How much did you pay the claim? What was the original claim value?
What was the cost of the claim to the insurer, which would include the money they were paying to all these outside companies?
That's right.
It's all kind of coming clear now that the reason they didn't want to give that information wasn't truly because it was a trade secret. It was because they would have had to disclose who they're paying, where's the money going, would have shown it.
That's right. So not only did our deceitful OIR chair, David Altmaier, allow an extension, he wrote every insurance company, said, you know what, don't worry about that law. I'm extending you for another year or whatever. And then that another year came, and we had more law changes, and we had nothing tangible at that point, no proof, no smoking gun. Everybody talked about it. Everybody knew who it was, but there was no smoking gun. And now finally, in, December of 2024, just a few months ago, we finally got the proof that we needed.
Which in fact is the smoking gun that was available in November of 2022 that could have and should have derailed any passing of any new legislation in December of 22.
That's right. They had the information prior to. They didn't give it up because they needed to go along with the fake crisis so they can make all the law changes, and they say this is the reason why. And most people don't understand that. I was there every session, every committee meeting, and you hear it. Everybody in Tallahassee knew about it, but it's like, what can you do, right? And so fast forward till now, and you hear the incoming Speaker of the House is much stronger, and Danny Perez, he's like, the governor is not going to lead us legislators. And he had a great speech when he came on. He talked about change. He said change is coming. He's now has a whole committee on finding or deposing some of these insurance company executives to talk about how did you, or these subsidiaries, the overspending that they were doing to show low profit margins in their main company, and they overpaid their subsidiaries. So we're talking about billions and billions of dollars in profits for the subsidiaries, while they're showing very, very lean profits or none at all, which at some point, some of those insurance companies had to get money back from their subsidiaries to pay claims because they did the math wrong, right? They weren't mathing right. So, and then, because again, they're capped at 5% profit. Insurance companies aren't there to make money. They're not there to supposedly profit off of all of us, the policyholders. That's why they're stuck to that 5%. So you'll see all of them average out, but they know numbers very, very well. So they'll average about 4.5% profit, and they overpay all those extra profits either to their executives and or to subsidiaries. And so what we're starting to see now is legislation coming out that's starting to then propose legislation that would cap how much executives can pay themselves and such like that. Even to the point now, we finally have started to see some bills that are going to hopefully put attorney's fees back on the table for prevailing parties. So they're calling it loser pays. That's what we heard 6 months ago, a year ago. They were saying if something did come back, it would be a loser pays. And I never knew how they would do it. But now we do. House Bill 1551, House Bill 1551 by Hillary Cassell is a friend of mine, and she's a great attorney. She's a great leader and a great legislator. And she's not going to allow these, to get taken advantage of by the insurance company lobby to come in and start saying, we don't want this, we don't want that. I've already been chatting with her. They're going to do it for consumers. To really help them level the playing field. So we hope that something will go. There is a little bit of, in my head, still trying to talk it through and think about, well, what happens in case of a loss? What happens there? Are defense companies, defense firms going to start start going to insurance companies and pitching them and saying, hey, you don't worry about it. We're going to be a contingency on this side, and they're going to start going after homeowners if they lose? I mean, would that be an exposure?
I mean, they really can't. I mean, simply because the cash flow structure for them wouldn't really allow it. The idea that they'd have to rely on collection, if that's what you're talking about, collecting against insureds, they could on the collection side, they could say, look, we'll just take a percentage of it. Geez, I don't know, man.
That's my only worry. Now, on the upside is that you homeowner come in, you have a $10,000 dispute, then this law kicks in, and then you call Hans, and it's one call. That's all. One call. Either way, I'll figure it out. But to Hans over at Kennon Law Group, and then he will then say, guess what? I'm getting your $10,000, and they're going to pay my attorney's fees on top of that and my cost. So that $10,000 you were looking for, I got you the full $10,000. It's back to I would say the glory days for a consumer, because like that's a lot of money. Nobody's saving up. I'm not saving up for a disaster to come over my house. Like we recently had a tornado that went by in the middle of March, for crying out loud. I mean, lifted up houses. There's a few houses here in Central Florida that are just not there anymore.
Yeah, I drove by it actually Saturday, heading up to go to an event, and literally just from the road, from Markham Woods Road, you look down to the left about 2/3 of the way down by heading toward Alaqua, and there's just tarps and roofs gone and the whole thing right there.
Wow,
that's wild. That's wild. And for those erratic events, again, that's why you have insurance. And so, and now people are so freaked out that, oh, my insurance company's going to drop me, or, I'm like, think about it the way my advice is to this. It's like an auto, right? Most people don't think twice about it. They get an accident. The formula is this: if the damages supersede my deductible, I'm filing a claim, right? I mean, that's why you have insurance, right? And so people don't think about that on their largest asset, which it's a head scratcher for me. They're so freaked out now because they saw the news and saying, oh yeah, companies are going out of business, and all this stuff is happening, and companies are exiting Florida, and it's just not the case. That's fake news. You got new insurance companies coming in all the time. If you look on the OIR website, over 900 companies exist here in the state of Florida for auto and home insurance. Divide that by 6.5 million folks that need it here. Believe it or not, that's a lot of coverage. There's a lot of different insurance companies, to offer for that. So, and on the show, we talk a lot about that because it's the folks that we help are the consumers that don't have the money, that aren't saved up for it. The rich people, they have their people, right? They pay, boom, and we don't even hear about that, right? Yeah. It's the people that need our help.
Exactly.
Is that we talk to all the time. The ones that don't know that, okay, I didn't save up for this event. I have a tarp over my house right now. A weird tornado just came through. I don't have the money, but I've been paying my insurance company for years and years. So what do I do? And it starts with getting an evaluation. And I know you offer that. Isn't that right, Freddie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when something like that does happen, you got water damage to your home. What happens whenever they give you a call?
When they give me a call, first it goes to the front office, which does a great job getting all the information that we need before we show up on site, which is all a roof damage, a roof leak, if someone at the home has a compromised immune system, so forth. Then I show up on the scene and I investigate, inspect. I get a work authorization form signed, and then I either stabilize the situation, put a roof tarp on the roof if it's a roof leak, if I have to extract some water. I want to make sure what the category of water is before I set equipment to dry it, because we don't want to cross-contaminate anything in the home. That's right. So we want to stabilize the situation, most importantly.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's step one is getting there, figuring everything out, what's going on, stabilizing the environment.
Yes,
and
sir.
That's great. It's even in the name, Almighty Environmental.
That's
Love
right.
It, right.
That's right.
And so Freddie, thank you for being here, man, and really describing that. And if somebody does have something and they just got where they have a toilet backup, they have water damage in their home, they got some wind that came in from a recent storm event or whichever, how would they get a hold of you?
You could reach me at phone number is 386-340-5060. That's 386-340-5060. Or you could directly email me at Freddy, Freddy, at almightyenvironmental.com. That's Freddy at Freddy, almightyenvironmental.com.
Love it. Beautiful. And that's your website, almightyenvironmental.com?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. It's a way to get you, or at least to research you and
Absolutely. And
learn more about your company, right?
Please read the reviews. The reviews that show the kind of business that we do conduct. We're very old-fashioned in what we do. We want to make sure the customer is 100% satisfied, and we put the human element into the situation as well. You know, we're empathetic to what they're going through. They're in distress. They're going through a devastating event. So we want to make sure that we ease them, but at the same time, we give them the reality, and the expectations of what's going to happen.
That's awesome. That's where I was going towards. Not only your great reviews on your website, but also the care that you give them.
100%.
You know, like, because people don't understand, you know, during their one time of need, it happens once in every 10 years or once in a lifetime is the average that somebody has to handle with one of these type of losses. When you come in and you're stabilizing the environment, putting a roof tarp over it, you just said it, that you have them sign a work authorization. There's a delay in payment, right? You know, you're offering a 90-day net terms to them to where it says, listen, you don't need to pay me now, but within this time, we're going to give your insurance company some time to get us paid.
100%.
In the state of Florida, the law just changed where now they have 60 days to pay or deny. We have 90 days, right, for them to pay.
Right.
So in that unfortunate incident, if they don't pay within the first 60 days, then the homeowner can then make one call to Kennon Law. And then once they sign up with the lawyer, then you have what they call a letter of protection.
Right.
And the homeowner is still not paying that bill right at that point, especially when they can't afford it. So they got a tarp over their home. They got somebody that's stabilizing the environment, getting rid of the mold. They've got a company like mine that'll come out and also sign the same type of contract. That means if the claim gets paid, then we all get paid. That's great.
Right.
If it doesn't get paid in that unfortunate event, or 77% of all the citizens claims, 50% of all the snake farm ones, whatever, right? You're in one of those buckets, right?
Right.
We truly are there for you. We really are a good neighbor, right? I mean, we are, right? But so to show up in their time of need, and if they don't, we say, hey, listen, make that one call, boom, just like that, to Kennon Law, and then you have a lien on the insurance proceeds, right? And that's so great to hear. If I was a consumer, and those folks listening right now, it means that you have 90 days to pay or deny, and then there's what they call a letter of protection in there that only gets invoked if you have to call the attorney.
Right.
And right now, I was almost infamous for saying this, is like, 70% of something is better than 100% of nothing, right? And to where if you do have to, unfortunately, litigate, right? If you can't appraise, you can't mediate, you must litigate, right? And so if you get to that point, you do have to have some points taken off. Unfortunately, in this market, hopefully when the law changes again, we'll be back to that part to where you get to keep your whole amount. The whole nut would be the homeowners. But here's what's great is that you get that service right up front. You get a delay in which you have to pay, and you also have a whole network of folks that'll help you, the homeowner out as well. And I love having you part of that, because it's like everybody that we've worked with together, and business-wise, me doing the consulting work, you guys doing the dry out, always great feedback, always clean PRVs when we get there. So it's like, we know that the homeowner's taken care of. We love
Awesome.
And I think just to add that in, as a lawyer who deals with at times many vendors who my clients may have signed with before they came to me, one of the biggest issues you have is a vendor who is not willing to, really, in my view, doesn't care about the client, is not willing to work and try to have everyone get satisfied out of whatever that settlement proceeds. I've had people actually say, I'm not taking a penny less than my invoice. I've had to put the cases into litigation just to have the judge decide through what's called interpleader, have him decide who gets what. I mean, and the nice thing I know from my dealings with the vendors with RAF is that everyone's in it together. And I try to impress that upon people, that people who work or who are delaying getting paid are in it with you.
That's right.
If they were trying to get money right away, they'd say, hey, when they showed up in the middle of the night, they say, give me a credit card right now. These folks won't do that. They'll work with you, and when time comes, when I'm able to obtain whatever that settlement is, I can go to everybody and say, look, we all got to work together, and it's always worked out. And the RAF organization, I think, really impresses that on people.
Right, it really does, and thank you for that. We are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida, raflorida.org. where we are by contractors, for contractors and for consumers here in the state of Florida to make it fair, make it even, and make it for the consumer. So we all want to be here for a long, long time. And I myself has been in the business for over 12 years here in Central Florida, just in the mold related field. And so being able to, the satisfaction to have to help folks in this industry is just so high. And it's unfortunate that we have to be activists in here because there's such a strong desire on the other side from the insurance company to delay, deny, and then defend. But more about this. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. All right. We're back live on, where are we? I was going to say, man, we're live on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, 94.9 FM, 950 AM. If you're listening to us locally here or online, you'll listen to us later on Spotify, on iTunes, and on our YouTube page. Find us there, like us, subscribe us on our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. And I think the best way to really find us on our socials and on our YouTube, and especially, because all the cool video we put out. We do have a face for radio, so watch out if that's the case, though. But I'm sure just out of curiosity, you want to tune in that way. The most convenient way is I love it. Spotify. I was showing my friends again this weekend. Hey, look how easy it is for anybody to be on, if they have a podcast, to be able to share it everywhere on Spotify and like iTunes and different streaming ways. There's ways to do it to where it's easy for all of us to get our information out. And I love discussing this. I love to be an advocate, as I am through the Restoration Association of Florida. Two are sponsored by raflorida.org. We are an association by contractors, for contractors, and consumers here in the state of Florida. So if you're interested, if you're a plumber, electrician, a water mitigation, any other profession in here, public adjuster, check us out. Be a part of our association. We hold monthly meetings, both we're trying to do, Vanabelle has her ways, more online stuff as well as in person, lunch and learns and happy hours and those things to keep everybody together, right? To keep a unified front on our side, right? And we call these out-of-network or in-network contracting affiliates, right? I mean, if you look at it that way, in the medical world, there's in-network, out-of-network doctors, right? We are there's a line, right? We are the out guys, right? We are not the managed care program workers. We are the guys that you call out of the phone book because it's your choice, right? The homeowner's choice, right? You're not then stuck with the vendor, which some of these insurance policies do have. And that's what you want to be wary about. Unless you're saving a significant amount of money and you're okay with it. But Citizens has a policy, Heritage and Security First, and some other carriers are starting to come out with these managed care provider policies. People's Trust is the one that has it.
You mean the low bidder?
That's right.
Yes, the low bidder.
Right. Okay.
That's right. It's not who you want to come out at 3 o'clock in the morning. As a matter of fact, they won't because they don't get paid enough for it. But they'll be out the next day by 9. But these are the folks that don't have a Better Business Bureau rating. These are the folks that don't even have a Google review because it's so low, it just doesn't even show up on Google anymore. Right? I mean, these are the guys you do not want at your home trying to fix it and put it back to what they call a pre-loss condition. Right. Or be in the spot to where this provider then, which I've heard of many times, provider that was given to you by your insurance company comes out and does a whole bunch of work, rips out a bunch of stuff, floor to ceiling and all that stuff, and then says, oh, man, your carrier just told me to stop, and that they're denying the claim.
Had that case. They came in and they said, we got to take all this out. They took out my client's kitchen, like all the cabinets and the island and the flooring, and then Olympus denied it. And then they left, and they were gone. And like time goes by.
People were like, no kitchen.
People were like, well, they must be coming back. And they called them, and it was like, no, they're not coming back. So and that took a long. I had to put the case into litigation.
That's wild.
They weren't backing down. We had to go sue them. But that exact case came in, took out the kitchen, and left.
It's horrible.
It really is. I had a friend's house that burnt down that had People's Trust. And, I never try to push my service on anybody, but I'm like, dude, I'm telling you. I even told them exactly what was going to happen. And they're like, oh, no, that won't happen. I'm like, listen, they're gonna push you around, and it's a total loss and everything. The whole house burnt down and whatever. And, you're going to have poor workmanship. You're going to have, 2-3 years of delays and all this other stuff. And then I didn't see her for like a couple of years or whatever. And then I saw her later on, a friend of mine, and I was like, hey, I remember that the house burned down and everything. What happened? She's like, yeah, so it was basically exactly what I said would happen. There was all these delays, and the contractor that I hired was not good. And then they ended up finding another GC to go in there and fix it, and now they're in litigation against them. And I said, it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. And they had to rent a house somewhere else during all that time because they couldn't live in their home. So it's unfortunate, and
very unfortunate.
It really is, and that's why I do what I do, because I try to at least get it out, our stories out to the public to say, if these things happen, here's the crew that you need to talk to, right? I mean, call myself, call you, Freddie, call Hans, and it's like people that have experienced this before, right, can help you at that time. And let's say if that happened to where they had you had a roof leak, and it's like, oh, okay, let's help you fix it, and then they pull out. I mean, you're left with all this damage, and in this case, all of the kitchen to put back. Yeah. And how do you fix that? You don't.
I mean, really, it was terrible. And Freddie, I don't know what you guys do when you come to a home. I mean, you have to assess it. I assume you don't talk to the insurer though initially.
No, not initially. We talk to the resident.
Right.
Get the whole story. Yes.
Because in my case, my clients suggested the kitchen didn't have to be taken out. Like they're actually like, we don't think you need to do that, and they're like, no, it's got to. I mean, literally, they actually argued against the removal of their kitchen, and they still took it out. So I thought I'd ask Freddie. Honest to God.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But wow, yeah, and so we ever changing in this market, and that's why I became an advocate in this industry, because of how fast things change, right? And to try to get out to tell everyone that's working in this industry, the contracts that you spoke about, that you use, Freddie,
right.
It's a 90-day basically. Let me work with your insurance company for 90 days on a direction to pay with full communication rights to them. You as the expert can then talk to them on that intelligent level and say, here are all my dry logs. Here's everything that I did in my investigation. Here's all the photos.
Documentation is everything.
That's right.
Documentation, pictures, dry logs, moisture mapping, everything.
That's right.
So
that's right. That's right. And on the break, we were talking, and we were kind of laughing about, some of the things we talked about offline. But one of the things that Annabelle was saying is like, well, and you're on every job too, which is great. It's hard it's hard to be everywhere at once, but you do a really good job of doing that.
Yes. I stay tired sometimes, but yes, I'm owner operator, so
that's excellent.
Almighty Environmental Professionals. I'm specialized in mold remediation, mold assessment, and water mitigation in Central Florida for the last 10 years. We're a smaller company. We're not a franchise. If you need help and assistance in any mold issues or air quality testing or water mitigation, please reach out to me at 386-340-5060. That's 386-340-5060.
And then what's the service area? Like where do people work in what area? I mean, I don't think.
I do the entire Orlando. Okay. I sometimes go to Tampa as well.
Okay.
When needed. Yes.
That's awesome. That's
yes,
awesome.
Sir.
And then almightyenvironmental.com.
Yes, sir. Almightyenvironmental.com.
Like
yes, sir.
Seminole County?
Seminole County. I'm based out of Sanford, Florida.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm close by.
Like I'm saying, I mean, everybody always researches what they want. Like if they're buying a product online on Amazon, everybody goes straight to the reviews. And I think it's very important in this industry as well. Go straight to the reviews, really see what other people have experienced, and great reviews from everyone that I know personally, to even working together for so long, and just kind of knowing that as a consultant level, when you do a job and you say it's complete, it is complete, and 100%. It's mold-free, and the folks don't have to worry about maybe failing a post-remediation verification inspection, or having their family in a weird position, or having an influx amount of microbial growth or allergens or anything like that that would then, alter their everyday, stay within their safe place in their home.
That's right.
And that's important. I thank you for doing what you're doing. And so with today, and so we talk a lot about, and we kind of thread the needle with, with insurance and coverage. You talk about coverage there, Hans, I don't, but talk about what our experiences are with homeowners that have to deal with these situations. And part of that is not having the right contractor. And with the Restoration Association of Florida, we already vet the contractors that are part of our association. Freddie is a member of the Restoration Association of Florida. He can be found on our website as well, along as his reviews and directive right to his website at raflorida.org. But we know these contractors. We vet them. We work with them on a daily basis. And the folks that you find through our website or through our contractor group are going to be folks that have great experience of working with this. And they also have the longevity to be able to say, hey, I'm going to help you out. And I'm even going to go to the extreme to wait until you get paid. I'm going to show up for the second visits if the insurance company wants to come out and bring their water mitigation guy out or whichever, to look at the project and maybe even do its second opinion on your estimate and that type of stuff, just to try to be involved or just to try to save money on their side or give them less service than what they need, right? You're always there to help them on that, whatever that be, whatever that second visit is, or give me the estimate for that.
Yes, sir.
Now, if somebody does need an estimate, do you charge for that?
No, I do not. I don't charge.
Awesome.
Free inspections, free leak detection, free inspection.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody now has or at least they think they have a water leak somewhere, but they can't really put their finger on it, whether it be underneath the slab or like, I think something's dripping in my AC. It's like, I mean, not only do people not know what the heck an AC plenum is, but where is it?
Yeah, right. That's my favorite part of the job, is to detect the leak. I feel like a detective to figure out the source and the causation of what's going on in that environment. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job, to be honest.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So then,
and most people don't know that there's regulation in the state of Florida. If there's mold over 10 square feet, you must, not you just should, or maybe, maybe think about it. You have to get a licensed mold assessor and a licensed mold remediator involved. Right off the jump, you have more than 10 square feet, call the professionals.
Right.
That's right. And you're going to call you. So and this is where it starts, right? So if you're dealing with mold right now, you're going to call Freddy. You're going to come in and get a free evaluation, and you also get a free estimate. That's awesome.
Right.
That's awesome. And that's what most of the insurance companies are going to require. When you open up a claim for water loss, a sewer backup, anything to do with water damage or mold, that's the first thing they're going to ask you to do is go get an estimate from a reputable company and get back to us. And in our famous line, Hans, they always tell us to go get 3 estimates of everything. And that's just so they can slow you down and point you to the lowest estimator, because that's what they want for you. But most people don't know. They don't. No, you don't have to. They tell you go get 3 estimates. So no, I'm calling Freddie. That's all I've got to do.
That's right. From top to bottom, from start to finish, we get the job done. So
that's right.
We'll demo it. We'll do a containment under negative air, get it all cleaned up for you. We'll get it tested, make sure it passes, and we'll get it rebuilt for you. That's awesome. That's what from start to finish.
That's excellent. That's excellent. You can find them on almightyenvironmental.com. Find them on the website and check out the reviews. It's always important. Don't just listen to us, right? But go do your own homework. Like you do on Amazon, you're going to go check out who's going to have in your home as a service provider. It's very, very important. Again, most people don't know who to call, and they want to do the right thing. They just don't know the right people that work in this industry that can then say, okay, this is how we can help you. Whatever the type is, we can assist through our network. Check us out at raflorida.org if you're interested in checking out contractors in your area that are part of our association. All right, so with that, we're going to come back, talk about a little bit more about some of the legislative changes that are coming up, and maybe get to his newspaper article over here from Hans. We'll be right back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. All right, and we're back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Thanks for hanging out throughout the break. Give some thanks to our sponsors. Live here on 94.9 FM and 950 on the AM, The Answer. And in a few days, we'll be on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Find us online on our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. We're sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida, for contractors, by contractors, and consumers here in the state of Florida. Visit us on www.raflorida.org. All right, so much stuff going on in our Florida legislative session, and that I wanted to bring up a few things that kind of drive home the importance of, at least in my head, what I've seen from all of my experiences from folks who need the help, and they finally get that help later on, and it's a several year process for them to be made whole. To then find out that since the 2022 law change, the December 16, 2022 law change, we've seen folks that have just, not only are they scared because the how much they have to pay and in this that they're not saving up for. But prior to that, so Hurricane Ian and prior to, just to see the smile on their face, knowing that they get every penny that they were shorted, every penny that the insurance company did not pay them that they owed them, and the attorney's fees were paid to a company like Hans Kennon. They were on top of the indemnity. right? The indemnity portion is how much the consumer is going to get to do their repairs, right? And again, if they've only experienced this once every 10 years or once in a lifetime, how do they know how the process goes, right? And then with all of this advertisement going on from the insurance companies saying that, oh, we're weak, so most people don't want to file a claim thinking they're going to get dropped, thinking they're not going to get renewed. And to not even know, most people, when I tell them this, that if you file a claim on a hurricane-related claim, it doesn't count against your loss runs.
Right.
So it's an act of God. It's something that you could not have planned for, and so it doesn't count against you. So if you go to get insurance and they say, how many losses have you had in the past 3 years? You can say 0 because you had a hurricane claim. You say, I had a Hurricane Ian claim or I had a Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene claim, but that doesn't count against you because it was a named storm. Right. So your everyday pipe claims, yes, it's unfortunate that it happens, but it does count against you on there. But in the same, you get the repairs, or you finalize all the repairs from everything that was broken. So if it was pipes, it was windows, it was roof, all those things are fixed. The likeliness of them renewing you is very, very high. Right? The likeliness of them not doing is if you're getting short paid and then you can't afford to do your repairs, nobody's going to write your insurance because your house is in disrepair. Right? Nobody's going to insure a home in disrepair, right? Or at least they shouldn't. That's always my line is like, what was the condition of the home or the, of the commercial space whenever you took the money,
Right.
It's insurable. That's what it's called. It's insurable, and that's what the carriers need to do a better job on is making sure before they take your money and say, hey, you have $500,000 in coverage or X amount of dollars in coverage, that you actually have full advantage of that in case of the unthinkable happens. But I drive that home is about the possibility of attorney's fees coming back. It's like a sparkle for consumers out there of hope. In that if they are in that dispute of like a $10,000 dispute, then they can feel good about if they have to. Unfortunately, nobody loves to litigate. Nobody jumps out of bed in the morning like, I can't wait to sue my insurance company.
Definitely not.
It's really not. It's the longest game of like waiting and hide and seek and staring at the wall, watching paint dry, whatever you want to call it, watching grass grow, whatever it is that you'll ever have in your life. And it's unfortunate. This is what Hans does for a living is literally rounding these insurance companies up all day, and they just drag out the process for years and years. It's unfortunate, but either way, if we bring back attorney's fees, prevailing party attorney's fees, that gives hope to those folks who don't have much, that can now feel good that they don't have to pay the experts, they don't have to pay the attorney, that if they're made whole, they will be truly made whole.
Yeah. And most of the clients that we encounter, they don't know their policy. So I recommend getting a public adjuster involved. Absolutely. So that way they know the policy and they can get them a lot more for their claim. I tell residents right away, they want us to rectify the problem right away. And I tell them this is going to be, 9 times out of 10, it can be a long-winded process. So it's a long hill to climb, right? So once we get to the top of the hill, we plant our flag and let them know that Almighty Environmental has fought tooth and nail to get them exactly what they needed from insurance. So
and it's nice to give them the 3 months at the beginning. I mean, the first thing you worry about when you have a disaster is, how am I going to pay for all this?
Right.
The first thing, and the fact that there's 90 days out of the jump where, that's 3 months. I mean, that gives folks, I imagine, who are coming to see you some sense of relief that they're not putting down a credit card day one, not stroking checks day two, that they got some time to make this all work.
That's right. That's right. And it is tough. Again, most people aren't saving up for their time of loss, and if they do, then again, you're fronting that money in hopes to get reimbursed, right? But like you said, Freddie, it's important to know your policy, and as many policies as I've seen, I still can't depict what's covered and what's not. So I would refer everyone to a public adjuster.
Right.
Most people don't know about a public adjuster. And Hans would thank you if you did use a public adjuster, because by the time he got the package, it should be in a nice bow, boop, ready to go.
Path to least resistance. So
it really is. And a public adjuster off the jump can advise you what should be covered under the loss, on this specific loss. Sometimes you look at things and say, well, no, this came from the roof and this came from the AC. So instead of one claim, you actually have 2 claims, or whatever the case may be, or we did have a major storm and event. These are the things that are covered. These are not. Right. By the time it gets to Hans, hopefully he's not looking at it, scratching his head, is going, Miss Mary, did you not have silverware? And the total house burn? You didn't have silverware?
Right.
You didn't have dishes, So I love that story that an insurer trying to do their own loss, and it's like, oh no, I can do my own inventory. And he takes a look at the inventory. He's like, so no silverware? You just
Right.
eat with
And
just
she's
your
like,
hands?
and she's older lady. She's like, oh my, I just forgot. I'm like, well, ma'am, what else did you forget? You know what? I don't know. That's why people do this for a living, ma'am.
That's right. That's right. And that's why, I love surrounding myself with folks that work in this industry, creating power teams, so that way we can continue to inform consumers every day that this is the process, and this is the new ever-changing process. Today, this is our process of saying, okay, you have 90 days to do this, and it's a direction to pay. Right before, we would take an assignment of benefits, and we would then say, we'll get your bill paid. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll take over the collections for you.
Right.
And then since they took that away, and then they took away the prevailing party attorney's fees to consumer, made it more difficult for the consumer. Now they have to be the pitcher, the catcher, the first baseman. They have to do everything in the game now, to where we would then help them. But now there are some ways that we can still inform them, right? Say if you're in a loss, let me help you out. I'll put you in a holding pattern, right? I'll make sure that you're good without having water damage, mold, all that stuff that gets worse while the insurance companies are figuring out how they're going to make you whole, right? We're going to be there for you. You're going to plant your flag. You're going to make sure that these folks are taken care of. And so you're doing that up front, while hopefully they're going to do the right thing on the back end. And that's what's great. Now, today, we're using the direction to pay outside of the AOB, right? And then we have that kicker on the backside to say, hey, if you don't get paid in 60 days, then you have a little bit of cushion time to see if they're going to do the right thing. We're going to do appraisal. We're going to do mediation. No? Okay, well then, unfortunately, we have to bring the attorney in. And at this point, the attorney will get us all paid. I like to explain that in a way of like a car accident, right? I get rear-ended, I jump out, my neck, my back, and then I call up Hans. He says, okay, go to this chiropractor, go to this PT person, go to this blah, 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 massage, blah, 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 all that other stuff. And I'm not paying any money along the way, right? I mean, you're going around and you're getting all this treatment. 6 months later, you feel better. You get a settlement. This actually happened to me, and it was more of a theme park situation. I'll explain it later. But they called me up and they were like, "Hey, you finished everything. We're at the end of 6 months. We're getting you like $30,000." I was like, "Man, this is great. This is what I need. I need this money." And they're like, "But you get like $3,000." I was like, well, what do you mean? Well, we got to pay this person, this person, this person. Remember, you got all this treatment. I was like, but we've negotiated them down, but you're still on the positive side. So I'll still get my. I was like,
And I really enjoy the letter of protection as well, because who wants to put a lien on someone's property after they've been through all of that?
Right. Nobody.
Nobody.
We want to get paid, right? But dollars and cents are not more important than someone's health and their well-being.
That's right.
They've been devastated. The insurance puts them through all of that. Then to put a lien on someone's property, I like the letter of protection a lot better.
Right. And thank you for saying that. Every one of our members in the RAF and the Restoration Association of Florida do not lien homeowners' homes. Right. I mean, it's like, and that's why we're so big on the AOB, is because in exchange for the services you provided, we're taking an assignment of benefits from that claim. And now that it doesn't exist or invalid in any policy 2023 or farther, then we can't do that. So what can we do to help protect homeowners that are getting slow walked by their insurance company? Let's say Citizens. They're owned by the state of Florida, immune from bad faith. They're worse than the DMV, right? I mean, you're going to get really poor care at a very long periods of time, right, of waiting. And so with that, how can then you get work done ahead of time, not live in a mold environment, right? Not live in these types of places to where it's just going to get worse. And that's where you come in, Freddie, to really help them out and the folks that are within our industry that know how to do this. I hate to say play the game, but it's like more or less help the homeowner out and say, this is the new way the industry is going, the new way that the market is going with all the law changes. This is the way we're all doing it. So this is the new norm, right? This is the new industry standard. And so we're all doing the same thing, saying the same things. We're using the same contracts, and we can then stand together and say, we are working for you, homeowner, to make sure you are put back to pre-loss condition without getting slow walked by your insurance company, without getting wrongfully denied. We're going to be there to help direct you to the right space.
100%.
Absolutely. And so Hans, coming back to you, I think we got a few minutes left to talk about that article people so interested in what the happenings are today and how other people see what's going on in our dumpster fire industry.
Sure. One thing I would say to people though is if you can avoid being insured by citizens,
Right.
just avoid it. Money's money, and if no one else will insure you, I understand what you have to do. But if you have an option or an ability to get a different insurance carrier than Citizens, it might cost a little more money. I realize that, but in the end, the performance is going to be substantially better if you're not with Citizens. So just keep them. People say, "Oh, it's the low bidder concept." They're low bidder because it's low service, low payments, slow payments, low indemnity. All those things. Just simply try to avoid them.
And before this closes out, I just want to applaud you guys for what you do. You advocate for the consumer, and you give us knowledge on the laws of these contracts. And I know you, not just with the Contractors Talk, but also with the Restoration Association of Florida.
Yeah,
It's amazing stuff.
Thank you. We do try. We try to put on a little something, try to make it interesting and maybe entertaining, and we get a little dry sometimes.
Right.
What happened this week is that as a result of the report we talked about that came out in November of 22, that was not revealed to anybody until December of 24. Even Jaworski, who is the new Office of Insurance Regulation, who runs it now, didn't find out. He started there in February of 23. He did not know about the report until the end of 24. The man runs the place for 2 years. He only found out because they got a subpoena type document from the Tampa Tribune asking for this report. He didn't even know about it. Like, they truly buried it. When asked under subpoena last Friday, where was it? They all were like, well, it wasn't finished. Well, why didn't you finish it? And nobody knew why. And the guy going out,
we all know why.
The guy going out knew about it, didn't do anything about it. The guy who took over literally said that he talked about it. He talked about it with Altmaier, did nothing with it for the 2 years, left it in a drawer, and now all of a sudden they're like, we're not sure what's happening.
Wow. So it's interesting to see what the legislature is going to do with this information now that they have it in their hands, and what the governor is going to do when we come out, because we also have BMI, it's 25,000 or 50,000 on auto. We have so much stuff going on. But keep checking back with us. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Talk to you next week. See you.